Well, we're down to the wire, as you know, on this whole sequester situation. So the president has now invited the congressional leaders to the White House so that they can chat about what they should do about these automatic spending cuts that are going to kick in about 24 hours, at least the very beginning of that process. So the top leaders from both sides of the aisle will get together at the White House. That's going to happen tomorrow on Friday. Those you see pictured here will be in attendance. In the meantime, Senator James Inhofe has an idea about how to fix this situation. He's the ranking member on the Armed Services Committee, and he joins me now. Senator, welcome. Good to have you here this morning.
Well, nice to be with you, Martha. Let me correct something that's been said. This is not a new idea. We actually put this together, it's been 5 weeks ago. My feeling was this president has already virtually devastated the military, and if sequestration comes in on top of that, that would be $1 trillion taken out in that 10-year period. So what I did 5 weeks ago was said, look, if it's inevitable, we're going to have sequestration, we're going to have those cuts in the military. Let's see if we instead can cut the same amount, but allow the service chiefs, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Guard, make a determination within those cuts as to what would be less painful and still have the cuts. They're all enthusiastic about it, and that's all this does. And it's something that, yes.
That seems like a pretty simple idea. I mean, the president and Leon Panetta, before he left the Department of Defense, talked about how devastating these cuts are. And we know that this is not a hammer that has to come down in the way that it has been designated, because we know that the White House also has the leeway to sort of make adjustments and recommendations into how these cuts are made. So you say that all of these different military branches are on board with finding their own. They're going to get their own red marker out and slash some things to make up for this money. Is that right?
Martha, I asked him two questions 5 weeks ago. I said, first of all, if you could be selective and have the same top line, would it be less devastating to your branch of military? They all said enthusiastically yes. Then I said, can you do it in 4 or 5 weeks? And they said yes. So they've been working on this for 4 or 5 weeks, and this should not be partisan. This is the thing that bothers me. We're going to be voting on this today, and this should not be a partisan attempt. This is not a fix that is going to increase the amount of money or extend the period of time. It merely says if you're going to cut where it does the least damage. And that's what we're going to try to do.
It seems like a pretty common sense. Go ahead.
Let me just answer these people, Martha, who say that, well, this is an imperial presidency. Nothing could be further from the truth, because we have a congressional rejection of this built into this law. And we also say that the president has to do it, or the services have to do it, consistent with the bill that was passed by Congress. It was the National Defense Authorization Act. So I don't know why they're even saying that, because there's no truth to that at all.
Well, the word is that this proposal can't pass in the Senate, that the Democratic proposal also, it looks like it can't pass. Your thoughts on that? And do you have any response from Harry Reid or from the White House to this idea that each branch can get out the red pen and do this on their own?
Well, first of all, that can't happen. This does essentially that in terms of getting their input and making it happen. But if he feels strongly about that, and with the arguments he's using, I would say, Harry Reid, accept this plan. I'm sorry that this is going to be considered on the floor in just a few minutes or a couple of hours as a Republican alternative. This shouldn't be a Republican alternative. This is a logical way to meet a crisis and minimize the damage to our military.
But what is, forgive me if you stated this, but what's Harry Reid's, has he responded to this specific idea? What wouldn't he like about it?
Well, see, I went to Harry Reid first. I went to him over a month ago. And in fact, he referred me to Dick Durbin, and he said he thinks it's a good idea. But I think we're getting a little bit, it's getting partisan in there, and it shouldn't. I've talked to a number of Democrats who like our approach. And by the way, while we started the bill, Pat Toomey from Pennsylvania came in, and now it's the Inhofe-Toomey bill. But it should be the Inhofe-Toomey and several Democrats bill. But that's one of the partisan problems we have. We'll have to wait and see what happens. I'm hoping that they'll look at this as something that is not just a Republican bill, but something to minimize. There's no downside to doing this.
You've been in Washington a long time, sir. What do you expect the tenor? What is this meeting going to be like at the White House tomorrow, when McConnell and Pelosi and Boehner are all in there with the president? What's going to happen, do you think?
Martha, I can only judge from what the meetings have been before. By the way, I've been spared those meetings, so I haven't attended them. But they are going to get in there, and each side is going to say, how can we do this in a way that it's not our fault? Now look what the president's been doing. He's been trying to tell everyone the sequestration has been the fault of Congress. He didn't necessarily say the Republicans, of Congress. And I think this has upset some of the Democrats in Congress. So I think coming from this, it's going to be an effort by the president to try to come out with something that's going to make him look good, and somehow maybe he might have an idea I don't know about now, but it's going to be partisan. We know that.
We'll see. Senator, thank you very much for being with us today. Have a good day. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Martha.